what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing what I already know some other YouTubers have already done it, but we're ranking the F1 2020 drivers in a tier list and giving my personal opinion on what I think should be the deserved rank for each of the F1 2020 drivers. If you end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. Let me know what you think of each of these F1 2020 drivers, whether you're going to agree with my opinion or whether you're going to disagree with my opinion. Obviously, like I said, this has been done by other YouTubers such as Arava and Tom. However, this is something that's already something that I wanted to do in the first place. Plus, I want to give my own opinion on it. So, I'm going to do the tier list and let you know what I think about it. So, let's get straight into the tier list and get on with all of the drivers and see where I rank them. Alright, so we're here now on the tier list where we're going to be going ahead and ranking all of the drivers. This is obviously a tier list that Arava created, so I'll leave a link to it in the description down below so you can go ahead and use the tier list and rank your own drivers if you fancy it. I've just gone ahead and changed two of the words from the tier list because I never use the word biblical and I don't use the word bin. So I got rid of those. Arava can have those because that's his type of thing. But anyway, here we go then. So starting things off with the two Alfa Romeo drivers of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, I'm putting them in average straight away. They had a bad car this season. That's quite prominent to see. They had very, very poor car. That was all down to the Ferrari power unit, really. Obviously, the Ferrari power unit, when they had that special agreement, and obviously the car just wasn't as good as it was last season. They both ended up accumulating 4 points. I've got the Drivers' Championship on my phone, so I can have a look at that at the same time to make sure that I'm not, you know, going a little bit mental with things. But, yeah, for me, you know, the car was not really brilliant. I think Giovinazzi out-qualified Kimi Raikkonen throughout the course of the season, but they both scored 4 points. I think it's fair enough to put it where it is. Now I'm going to go over to the AlphaTauris. Now we've got Gasly and Danny Kvyat. Well, first of all, I'll start with Kvyat because his is easier, and I'm going to put him in dreadful. You're probably thinking to yourselves, why? Now, don't get me wrong. I think Danny Kvyat has been very much kicked too hard in Formula 1. I don't think he's had a very fair career, you know, especially when he was at Red Bull to start with in 2015 and then got demoted so quickly in 2016. It almost felt to me that as soon as Danny Kvyat had one bad race, then Red Bull would capitalise and bring Max in. That's just my personal opinion. And yeah, it was just a shame, really. It just didn't work out for him. And unfortunately, Kvyat was just poor. Also, this season as well, he got outscored by Sebastian Vettel. And unfortunately, when I get to Sebastian Vettel, he had a dreadful season. And an AlphaTauri, which, in my personal opinion, was actually probably better throughout the majority of the season compared to the Ferrari. So it's very hard for me to put it in any other way, to be honest. And now Gasly. Now, Gasly's a really tough one because I don't know whether I want to put him in great or whether I want to put him in outstanding because he's had such a good season. And obviously, he managed to win the Italian Grand Prix, of course. Fortunate, again, you know, with all the red flags and all the stuff like that. But you got to be, you know, you got to be at the right place at the right time. And he's had some brilliant qualifying sessions, some brilliant race results as well. There's a lot of people that actually want to put in outstanding, to be honest. I'm going to do it. I'm putting Gasly in outstanding. I think he's had a brilliant season, especially because he's been knocked back so hard from being demoted. Ever since he got demoted back down to Toro Rosso, now AlphaTauri, he's completely changed into a new man. He's not let that take advantage of him. Whereas Danny Kvyat, unfortunately, who no longer has a drive in Formula 1, you know, he's come back and he's fought hard and he's really been working hard. And I have full respect for that. So I'm going to put him there. Two Ferrari drivers, Charles Leclerc is going in outstanding for me and Vettel is going to go in dreadful for me. Charles Leclerc, I think, you know, the Ferrari car has been an absolute... Oh, actually, no, I'm trying to think about this now quite carefully here. No, I'm actually going to drop Charles Leclerc into great. I'll tell that in a minute. I'll go to Vettel's first. Vettel, I think we can all tell, it's been probably his worst season ever in Formula 1. He really hasn't enjoyed the Ferrari car. He lost his Ferrari drive before the season even started, officially, obviously. He never got to grips with the car, and it was quite clear to see that he was just not happy with it. It never suited him at all, and obviously Vettel just had a dreadful season. There's no other way of putting it. I can't put him in average. It wasn't average. It was just downright awful. Going to Charles Leclerc, and obviously I moved him down from outstanding to great. Now, don't get me wrong, Charles Leclerc, who managed to finish 8th in the championship on 98 points, he put in some sensational performances in a very much a dog of a car, with qualifying at what was the qualifying that he got? Qualifying at Sakia, that's it, when he was like 2/10 off, and it was just insane. He managed to get a couple of podiums as well in Silverstone and somewhere else he got one. The first race in Austria, actually, when he got second place. The reason I don't want to put him in outstanding is because, despite this, he has made, again, a couple of stupid mistakes. Being the Styrian Grand Prix, when he took out his own teammate Vettel in a disastrous race for Ferrari. And then also at the Turkish Grand Prix, when he had that second place, he had the inside line. Perez was alongside of him, so he could have just, you know, he was just a bit too over-ambitious on the brakes, I think. And he cost himself a chance at a podium, and he kicked himself hard for it. It's been a great season for Charles Leclerc in a dog of a car, but there have been some key elements in there, which have caused some mistakes as well. Going on then to the two Haas cars. I'm going to go... This is difficult, actually, to determine where these guys should be. Grosjean has scored 2 points this season. Magnussen scored 1, and I'm pretty sure they both scored at the Hungarian Grand Prix. If I'm being honest with you, I think I'm going to go Magnussen in average, and I'm going to go with Grosjean in dreadful. That's probably my personal opinion, I think. Yeah, I think, again, you know, the Haas car was damaged severely by the power unit deficit loss that they'd hit. I think they lost, I think all Ferrari cars lost about a second of performance on their engine power, which was so damaging for them. I just think Magnussen was just more in the mix this season. Grosjean had a lot of spins. I can remember the one at the Spanish Grand Prix when he lost the rear end, somehow managed to save it. Magnussen's just sort of, I feel like, just been a little bit more prominent, and I feel more disappointed that Magnussen has lost his drive to Romain Grosjean. Now, I know what people are going to say, obviously, you know, Romain Grosjean has become a much-loved Formula 1 driver now, obviously, due to his terrifying crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Now, I'm going to be controversial, but at the end of the day, I speak my mind, so, you know, this is how I think of it. If Romain Grosjean suffered that exact same crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix, and that there was no fire, and that he wasn't pincered inside a barrier, he literally just crashed out, and maybe the suspension had broken or anything like that, and he got out of the car, and it was just a normal, you know, crash without all of the danger that had come alongside with it. If it was just a normal crash, the exact same scenario, but obviously, you know, the actual impact of the barrier was the same, nobody in their right mind would actually be cheering or being grateful for Romain Grosjean. Everyone would be saying the same thing, and that he is consistently clumsy and stupid with his driving. For me, in my personal opinion, obviously, like I said, I think that Grosjean, no matter what, like, you never want to see an F1 driver in that scenario. You know, the first thing that happened at the Bahrain Grand Prix is my hands were in my head. You know, my mouth was as open as females on a Saturday night in a toilet, yeah, I was absolutely terrified. You know, I thought, you know, we've just lost a Formula 1 driver. And as soon as I saw Grosjean get out of the car, you know, my heart was just like, was safe again. But then as soon as I realised that he was safe, and then the replays came on about what actually happened, to me, I just sort of took a step back and I thought, he's been doing this his entire career. He's just a liability. He nearly killed Fernando Alonso at the 2012 Belgian Grand Prix when he rear-ended Lewis and basically pushed Lewis into Alonso, you know, and he had no spatial awareness against Danny Kvyat in that situation. And I said it, you know, I say it again, you know, if that crash at Bahrain didn't involve the fire and the pincer inside the barriers, and he just hit the barriers and the car was all in one piece, apart from, you know, broken suspension, whatever, everybody would be onto Grosjean's back. It's only because it was a terrifying crash and that he hasn't killed himself from his own actions that he is in the position that he's in, where he's so loved by Formula 1 fans. Like I said, though, if you actually decide to take my opinion in the format that I wanted Grosjean to die, you're quite frankly stupid. I don't wish anything that severe on a Formula 1 driver. Obviously, we don't want to see it in our sport, but unfortunately, I don't really think Grosjean should be in the sport anymore. So there you go. Right, moving on to McLaren then. This is interesting. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. I mean, this is an interesting one, actually. I think they both have had a good season in Formula 1. I don't think they've had great / outstanding. It's tough, actually. I should probably have just got rid of the good in the tier list, to be honest, because there's no point in it, really. Norris and Sainz, they've obviously, you know, we've had those. McLaren, I'm so happy that they managed to get third in the Constructors' Championship. They were, you know, brilliant throughout the entire season. I think what makes Sainz and Norris, for me, one of the best combos is, in qualifying, I believe it was 9-8 in Lando Norris's favour in a qualifying battle, which is something you want to see. You want to see the drivers nice and close. Looking at the Drivers' Championship on my phone now, so Sainz finished with 105 points and Norris had 97. When you look at the other drivers, which we'll get onto now, especially in that battle for third in the Constructors' Championship, they were the perfect partnership. They were both getting the points. They were both out qualifying each other to an even extent. And they both got a podium each. Obviously, Sainz getting second in the Italian Grand Prix. I was gutted that he didn't win. But obviously, you can't be gutted that Gasly won. And also, Norris got P3 in the start of the season. Why I'd probably put them in good is that there was quite a few phases in the season where they were just not really there. Like, Norris had a beautiful start to the season with him getting the term last lap Lando. Then he just sort of disappeared for a little bit. It was like, this is not the Norris from the start of the season. This is the McLaren from the start of the season. And then it eventually just, you know, picked up from there. So that's my personal opinion on it. So I think they both had a good season. Pushing into great. It's a high good, low great, definitely, for the two McLaren drivers. They were just so consistent. And because they were both so consistent, they both had their good stages, both had their bad stages, equal in quali, equal in the championship. You can't ask for much more than that. Going to the Mercedes-Benz duo then. So Bottas, I'm going to put in average, and Hamilton had an outstanding season. And put Hamilton as the #1 outstanding driver. There we go. So obviously Lewis Hamilton, there's not really a lot I can say about it. Managing to win his 7th Formula 1 World Championship, winning 11 of the 16 races, should I say, that he participated in. That could have easily been 13 out of, or could have been, he could have actually won 14 of the 17 races, because he missed the Sakir Grand Prix due to COVID, and we never, you know, the Mercedes was the fastest car on that specific race weekend, and there's a very good shout that Lewis Hamilton could have easily won that Grand Prix. We had the Italian Grand Prix when Lewis Hamilton was unchallenged at the front until they made that mistake with the safety car, giving him the 10-second time penalty. And then the Russian Grand Prix, when he got the time penalty for for the false starts at the end of the pit lane. And obviously, apart from that, he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's set records. He's absolutely smashed Valtteri Bottas. You can't put him anywhere else than outstanding. For Bottas, it's an average season. I am very tempted. Now, everyone, you know, you can come at me now because, yes, I support Mercedes, blah, blah, blah. I am very tempted to put Bottas into dreadful, and he had a dreadful season. Despite this, though, there's a reason why I'm keeping an average. In terms of qualifying performances, he's still very, very close to Lewis Hamilton. I believe their gap was around about like a 10th max on occasions. There were 2 qualifying sessions where Bottas got absolutely hammered by Hamilton, and that was the Belgian Grand Prix and the Russian Grand Prix when it was over half a second. I think it was 0.542 in Belgium and about 0.632 in Russia, off the top of my head. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that was huge qualifying margins. But, you know, Bottas has had his pole positions. He's been, whenever he's missed out on qualifying in the majority of the races to Hamilton, it's been very, very close. And we can't forget that Bottas has a lot of bad luck this season. I think people forget that. You know, he had the issue in the Styrian Grand Prix when he had brake problems. I actually was going to make a video. I don't know, if you guys still want me to do so, I was going to make a video of what went wrong for Bottas in 2020. Let me know if you'd like to see that. But yeah, I've got a lot of reasons to defend Bottas and also attack him as well for his problems. But he had the problem in the Styrian Grand Prix qualifying in the wet when he had brake problems, which was confirmed by Mercedes. Silverstone, he had the puncture, which was literally on the exit of Club Corner, so he had to do a whole lap with a puncture. That took him out of the points. He had the DNF at the Eiffel Grand Prix. Of course, he did actually lock up and grained his right front, and then Lewis passed him, but he could have still got a podium out of that one. And then he also had the bodywork damage at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So there's a lot of, you know, bad luck that has been paid Valtteri's way as well. So that's why it's not in dreadful. If he didn't have as much bad luck, then it would have been dreadful. But it's average because he's also had a lot of bad luck, costing him dearly. Verstappen had a great season for me. Albon, dreadful season. Starting off with Albon, of course, we've now confirmed that Albon will be a test and reserve driver for 2021 with key focuses on 2022. I do feel bad for him, obviously, but I'm very happy that Red Bull still see a lot in Alex Albon. Clearly, they don't really see that in Pierre Gasly. I mean, Gasly does have a drive in AlphaTauri, and they could have just kicked him out at any point. But I feel like, you know, the fact that they still have a lot of trust and belief in him is a good thing. But despite that, though, he's had a really, really bad season. He has been nowhere near Max's level. He had pretty much he just had a horrid time. I mean, he finished 7th in the World Championship. He got beat by Ricciardo, he got beat by Sainz, and he got beat by Perez. It's not good enough. You're in a Red Bull car. Verstappen was able to fight it with the Mercedes-Benz cars, even win 2 races as well. Albon just wasn't there. You know, he managed to get a podium at the Tuscan Grand Prix, which was great for him. And then he went on a race streak of like 4 races in a row where he just didn't score any points. The Eiffel Grand Prix, I can remember off the top of my head, was tragic. Especially when he was trying to fight an AlphaTauri and he literally radioed saying, "They raced me so hard." I literally lost my head when he said that radio message. I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" Yeah, I just think he just hasn't been anywhere near Verstappen. I think the closest he got to Verstappen in terms of qualifying was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and that was still over 0.2 of a second. Apart from that, it's been like up to a second at points, which is just poor. And I just don't think he was good enough this season. And I know a lot of people will say, you know, he's brilliant in wheel-to-wheel racing, and I totally respect that. He's so good at overtaking cars. The problem is that he's overtaking cars that he should never be behind in the first place. It's like he overtook, you know, a couple of cars around the outside of Copse Corner in Silverstone, and it's like, yeah, it's an Alfa Romeo. You're in a Red Bull. You know, it's like they were in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix when Albon got past Lando Norris and Crofty was trying to hype it up like, that's what Alex Albon can do. It's like, it's a McLaren. It's not as fast. It's like a good 6-7 tenths slower per lap than your car. It's not good enough. And obviously Perez has taken his seat, and for me, it's thoroughly deserved. Now we're going to go to Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, I didn't actually talk about Verstappen, my bad, before I go on to those two. Verstappen, I mean, obviously, he had a great season. Managed to challenge the Mercedes cars, also win 2 races as well. But despite that, it wasn't outstanding. There was a couple of moments where it was a bit not really very clever from his behalf. You know, the Turkish Grand Prix, he could have easily dominated that Grand Prix, but he got too impatient behind Sergio Perez. Did have a lot of DNFs though throughout the season, so you have to, you know, put that into perspective. It was a great season though for Max, and he showed that, you know, he's definitely going to win a world championship. He just needs the car to get to the next level to do that. But it wasn't an outstanding season. I think what we're all grateful for is that Max at least gave us something to sort of cheer about when Mercedes were dominating all their races. Going on then to the Renault cars, I am going to put Ocon in average, and I'm going to put Ricciardo in, I want to put him in great for this one. Ocon, it wasn't a phenomenal season, I think, for Ocon, really. It was sort of just there or thereabouts. He finished on 62 points, 12th in the championship. It wasn't really there. I give Ocon a slight benefit of the doubt. Obviously, he's had a sabbatical in Formula 1 because he didn't drive in 2019. And obviously, he's driving a brand new car in 2020 in the Renault. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo, he wasn't amazing, Daniel Ricciardo, in 2019 with the Renault car. It took him a little bit of time to evolve into it, and he got into it. And that's exactly what Ocon's done. He was much better towards the latter stage of the season. Very happy to see him get a podium. Ricciardo got 2 podiums as well. So brilliant stuff from the both of them on that front. I think what Ocon needs to do is he now needs to take the next step, because it's been quite clear that Ricciardo has absolutely smashed him this season. And if I'm going to be brutally honest right here, right now, I think Alonso is going to absolutely smash him next year. But that's my opinion. I think if Ocon doesn't learn from 2020 into 2021, he could end up not getting a drive again if Alonso really does put the nail in the coffin. So it's going to be very tough for Ocon, but we'll see how he gets on. Now, we're going to go over to the Racing Point drivers. Now, Sergio Perez, for me, is going in outstanding. Lance Stroll, I don't know where to put him. Oh, I'm holding Giovinazzi. Whoops. Lance Stroll is going in average for me. So, Sergio Perez, I mean, he got his Red Bull drive. He's finally going to get a car in which he can actually be in a championship contending car. Whether it's going to contend is another matter, but he's in a car which can contend for the championship, which I'm so happy about. Sergio Perez, phenomenal driver, brilliant skill. Throughout the entirety of this season as well, he also finished 4th in the championship. He managed to be best of the top 3. But Sergio Perez has just been outright phenomenal. You know, he scored points. He did score points in every single race that he had participated in up until he DNF'd from the Bahrain Grand Prix, and then also from the what was the other race that he was DNF'd from? The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, of course. Yeah, the finale, which was an absolute heartbreak for him. But what makes Sergio Perez go there for more than anything is that if you look at this, right, so he managed to finish 4th in the Formula 1 World Championship, about, what was it, 6 points clear of Daniel Ricciardo. He missed 2 races because of COVID, and he also had those 2 DNFs as well, in which he was on the podium at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And Abu Dhabi, we don't really know about Abu Dhabi, but it just goes to show that he was so consistent. And it was a bit weird because he was scoring the points at the start of the season, and this now flips to Lance Stroll, when Stroll had a very good start to the season, but as soon as the Tuscan Grand Prix retirement came into effect, he just went off the cliff, really. And I don't know whether I actually want to put him up into good or not, to be honest. I'm gonna change my mind, actually. I don't know with Stroll. It's a weird one because he had a brilliant start to the season. Then the Tuscan Grand Prix came about and he just DNF'd. He got taken out on the first lap at the Russian Grand Prix by Leclerc. He got taken out of the first lap, technically, of the Bahrain Grand Prix by, what's it called? Who was there? Kvyat. Why would I forget that? But he was just sort of not really on Perez's level, and he also had all the upgrades on the Racing Point car quicker than Perez. Obviously, he had it at the I can't remember how many races he had it for, but he had it then for an extra weekend because his chassis caught fire, and Perez was still beating him in an older version or old spec Racing Point. So unfortunately, I can't give much than an average for Stroll. If something had just changed throughout the latter stages of the season, it probably would have helped, but it didn't. So I'm going to have to put him in average for that one. And obviously, Perez had a phenomenal season. But yeah, it's tough for Stroll. I do want to put him in good because he did get a pole position at Turkey as well. But then again, there's still a lot to learn because even though that there was some damage on his front wing end plate, he still lost his head completely and just fell back, got too aggressive, was going wide, lost out to the front. Like, he lost his head in that race as well. So I'm going to leave Stroll an average, but I'm going to put him at the very top of the averages because to me, I feel like he could scrape into a good, but I don't want to put him in good because he wasn't at the level of Sainz and Norris, in my opinion. So I'm going to leave him there. And then finally, we've got Latifi and George Russell, and this is the order that I'm going to put them in for this. Now, starting off with Nicholas Latifi, the same as Alex Albon, something I didn't actually talk about with Albon. Alex Albon and Latifi both got whitewashed by their teammates in qualifying. Alex Albon didn't out-qualify Verstappen once this season. Latifi didn't out-qualify Russell at all this season. That's not good enough if you're in Formula 1. Now, obviously, this is Latifi's first season, so we can obviously, sort of cut the slack a little bit, but it's Formula 1. It's a really, really tough sport. Obviously, Latifi's been slightly better on a Sundays in terms of just, his performances. The thing is, obviously, I haven't really seen much of Latifi at all. I remember, the Hungarian Grand Prix when he got released early out of the pits. He spun, and then he spun again. And he's just been, to me, pretty woeful. Probably one of the worst drivers of the season, in my opinion. Unfortunately, money beats talent, as we'll see next season with a girl groomer in the paddock, but nonetheless. Now, moving on to George Russell. Now, I'll be honest with you. Before the Mercedes Grand Prix, before George Russell got his seat or his race in Mercedes, I would have put him in a great season because he's been Mr. Saturdays. Obviously, on a Sunday, the debate has been, why hasn't he been able to perform on a Sundays? The Williams car just isn't as good on race pace. Obviously, on qualifying, they were able to, turn the wick up on the car, and that's been able to beat the Alfa Romeos and the Haas drivers because it's got the Mercedes power unit in it. It's just not good on a Sunday, so I don't really see this, he can only perform on a Saturdays. To me, that's false. He had some mistakes, though, obviously, especially the Emilio Romano Grand Prix when he was in the points and he got cold tyres, tried to warm them up, and he crashed out. However, When he got that drive in Mercedes-Benz, he lit the paddock alight and the fans alight. And that's why I'm putting him into having a great season, because he was only 2/100ths off of Valtteri Bottas in qualifying. And from lights out at the Sakhir Grand Prix, he overtook Valtteri Bottas. And on that day, he led Mercedes-Benz. Bottas should have been the team leader. George Russell said, you know what? I'll do it for you. I'm better. And he went there and he proved his worth. And that, to me, puts him into a great season for Formula 1. But there we go, guys. That is it. That is my tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Most likely you're going to disagree with it, because you're going to have your own opinions. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. If you ended up, like I said, enjoying the video, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. And if there are any type of real-life F1 videos that you kind of want to see me discuss, whether that's, you know, why Red Bull chose Sergio Perez, what went wrong with Valtteri Bottas, and those type of videos, let me know. And until then, I'll see you guys for the F1 journey tomorrow. Take care all. Peace.